Chapter 4. How Isegrim the Wolf devoured Constant Desnoix' ham, string and all. Had Isegrim heard him? Reynard could smell him in the brambles 30 yards from his earth, and suddenly he stood there before him, silent, the colour of grey mist, with his yellow-green eyes and his cold, cruel look. "Good evening, uncle dear," he said. "How big he is," he thought to himself. "What a broad, well-developed ruff he has. It serves to hide the strength of his neck and shoulders better, we know. He could carry a calf easily." "Good hunting?" he inquired humbly.
"No,"
said the wolf. His icy look still rested on the fox.
"What about you?"
"Alas," sighed Reynard. His heart was so heavy that he began to talk in spite of himself. He told him everything. Chanticleer's trickery, the fat Chippet's teasing, Constant Desnoix' treachery. He emphasised his own simplicity, his confidence, and his unforgivable stupidity. And hunting in the wood had never been so poor as now. Isegrim had just said so. The animals in the brushwood were terrified all day long by the huntsmen of the Lord de la Fouise sounding their horns, and at night by Outram Rufus and his mastiff Surly. The animals remained hidden in their retreats, and it looked either as though Reynard had lost the use of his nose or the hares their scent. Must he be content with frogs or dead moles he found in the fields? And Ermelyn had some cubs, too. She was nursing them. Isegrim knew. And Reynard thought of Ermelyn and the gay hunting expeditions they had shared together, and he expressed his bitter regrets. "If only I had my hunting companion, but I'm alone and I'm suffering as a result."
"Let's hunt together,"
said Isegrim. Reynard was left speechless. Of his own accord he would never have imagined a pact of this type.
"Well?"
Yes, forgive me, uncle. I am so poor. This is such a great honour. Is it true you're not teasing me?"
"Let's go," said the wolf. "Let's start hunting now."
They went along together for a moment, leaving the edge of the forest but remaining close enough to watch the plain, and all at once the churlish, bristly Isegrim began to speak freely as Reynard had done earlier, growling out his anger and his wretchedness. He had sons too, 3 wolf cubs whom Ursa the she-wolf was nursing. Good hunting indeed, satisfying appetites like theirs. Everything disappointed him, mocked him and laughed at him. Reynard could talk about his misadventures, but he, the wolf, so strong, so bold. The day before even, when he asked Farrant innocently, out of pure politeness, what was the age of her foal, Farrant had replied, "Come and see, it's written there underneath my shoe." And when he went up close to her, Farrant had let fly at him such a kick on the back of the head that there was a circle showing the mark of the shoe and the nails where the fur had been torn out.
"Look, it made me howl with rage. Everyone has seen it. Everyone laughs at me. The Carmelite monks of Tyran have seen it. They laughed, shouting that I've been tonsured and ordained as a priest, and that after Farrant's rough treatment of me, I could now sing mass in a stolen chasuble. Outram Rufus believed it, and his mastiff Surly, and Snorter the bull, Besant the boar, Tibbet the cat, and everyone. And Tibbet is such a gossip. He's telling the story already under the oak trees to Turslin the crow. Listen to the magpies and the jays laughing. They know, they're chattering and gossiping. Bruin the bear listens. So does Bamba the stag and his hinds, Platter the roebuck, his doe, and the fawns and the kids. Now I only need Bleater and his ewes and their lambs to come and tease me."
Never in the memory of wolf-kind had Isegrim talked so much. Reynard realised that he felt relieved and became gradually more confident. He could now tolerate his alarming gaze without that feeling of discomfort throughout his whole body, making his heart beat faster.
"What are we going to hunt?"
said Isegrim. They had returned not far from the festival cross. It was almost midday. Reynard half closed his eyes and kept watch on the men's big clearing, and especially on the roadway. And all at once he jumped, restrained himself from a cheerful shout.
"What is it?"
said the wolf. "Our lunch," replied Reynard. He had just recognised his friend Constant Desnoix on the road, and his blood had begun to boil. The farmer was alone. He was walking quickly towards them, carrying something over his shoulder. The fox, with his sharp eyes, could see clearly that it was not a sack, but a ham, almost a side of pork, with pink flesh covered with a layer of white fat and golden crackling, altogether magnificent. Reynard's nose quivered. "He's going down to his meadows at Tyre Brace," he said, "to his haymakers. They're thinking of feasting under the willow trees and having cool drinks beside the river. But believe me, the farmer won't get there."
"Shall I strangle him?"
said Isegrim. "That would be folly," said Reynard. "Listen to me." He outlined his plan of campaign, and then he had a close view of a wolf's laughter, a cavern with smoking depths, teeth that could dislodge a thunderbolt, and molars that could twist a pikestaff. Isegrim suddenly closed his mouth and said,
"Ha ha ha! Let's go!"
They started to run straight towards the farmer. Constant saw them and thought at first that it was some bitch pursued by her admirer, but suddenly he could not believe his eyes when he saw them roll on the ground, the larger animal trampling on the smaller one, the two of them making one creature only, grey and red, their 8 paws mixed up together in a whirlwind of dust which for a moment concealed them from view. When it subsided, there was nothing to be seen on the path except a poor, flattened, panting carcass, almost motionless. Constant went up to it, bent down, touched it with his toe, and suddenly exclaimed cheerfully, "Well, it's my fox!" There was no doubt about it. He recognised the young fox with his fine fur beneath the dirt and dust, the white throat, the bushy tail with black markings at its tip, and the scoundrel was already thinking, "Worth at least 25 crowns, perhaps 30, or a muff for the clever Bronwyn who saved my cock Chanticleer, or a waistcoat for my best friend Constant Desnoix the rich, who is no longer young and is beginning to feel the cold." And in the meantime he felt in his pocket for a length of string to tie the fox's legs together, and for his knife to cut a stick so that he could carry him hanging head downwards. "He's made a mess of you, the wretch. Was it the wolf, you poor fox? No less than the wolf himself. Now the deed's done. Good riddance. Long may my hens live." "Oh, now where is he?" While the farmer was talking, Reynard had dragged himself towards the side of the road. His tongue was hanging out, his body was limp, his hind quarters inert and heavy. He seemed exhausted and lifeless. "My little one, my fine fox, my lovely 30-crown fox. Hey, I've lost him. Wait for me, Reynard." Reynard was indeed waiting for him, but every time that Constant tried to reach him and seize hold of him, the clever beast, still whimpering, limping, crawling pitifully along, managed nevertheless to evade his grasp and sank down a little farther away. "How stupid I am," said the farmer in the end as they came to the first trees. "This big ham is in my way. I'll leave it there by this oak tree on the fine moss. Just a moment, ham, I'm coming back to you." And he leapt forward, his hands free, unburdened, nimble and sure of himself now. In this way he pursued Reynard, swooping down on him once, twice, 3 times with empty hands, and missing him 3 times when he thought he had grasped him. The fox seemed to be regaining strength while Constant lost his breath. The man could see such bright cunning eyes gleaming beneath his eyelids that all at once he was paralysed. At the same moment, with a superb leap, Reynard bounded away and took to the field. "Chase your waistcoat, farmer. Run after it." He had already reached the edge of the wood and the undergrowth. "Your ham, farmer, your ham!" Constant turned round and saw the wolf running towards Reynard with the ham in his jaws. Then he raised a hue and cry towards the forest, the houses and the sky. "It's the wolf! I saw him! My ham! My beloved ham! After the fox! He bit me! He bit my hand and my foot! The fox! Stop! Thief! Help! My ham! My ham! Oh!" Isegrim and Reynard had no need to go far. They both knew the woods well enough to plunge straight into them, without turning aside or faltering. They trotted along one after the other, Reynard a little way behind, his eyes fixed on the ham, linked more closely to his companion in this way than by the most powerful magnet. They ran over the brambles, the brushwood, and the fallen trees with the same easy trot, long steps following leaps in a way that was wonderful to watch. They were both so hungry that tears ran out of the corners of their eyes. Isegrim stopped in a glade of small alders, put down his burden, and placed his enormous paw on top of it. "Well played, uncle," said Reynard. "Let's both enjoy our dinner." Poor wretch, he had to swallow his words. Isegrim's yellow eyes, the backward twitch of his ears, and the bristling hair that formed a ridge along his back were enough to freeze him. Reynard sat down 3 feet away, his mouth watering, his eyes wide open, and watched the wolf eat. Never before and never again did he see a ham disappear so quickly. There it was, pink and white, well cut, complete with bone and string, and already it was being torn up chunk by chunk and swallowed in large lumps until it was no more than a shadow of itself, a remnant, a ruin. Yet Reynard put up with it. Twice he had been unable to repress a moan, but he was immediately silenced by the terrible yellow gaze. As Isegrim paused to regain his breath, hope returned and gleamed over Reynard, but the insatiable mouth began to tear up the meat and swallow it. Then Reynard could no longer restrain himself. He got up and began to hop about and run round the wolf, shouting out in a sing-song voice which seemed to be in time with his leaps. "That's enough! For pity's sake, take pity on yourself, uncle, not on me. You're no longer Isegrim. You're an expanding bottle. You're a balloon. You'll burst. That's enough for today. That's enough!" Isegrim raised his snout and yawned in proud insolence.
"That's enough for today, certainly, Reynard. The rest can wait until tomorrow."
And he began to eat again. He broke the bone, crunched it up, gnawed it into small pieces, swallowed it, and licked his chops with his big tongue to remove the last crumbs.
"Goodbye, nephew,"
he said finally, taking a deep breath as he rose.
"I'll leave you the string and the taste of the fat that anoints it."
He took one step and then turned back, as though changing his mind all at once.
"On second thoughts,"
he said, and he swallowed the string.